Super Smash Brothers, yeah. Hi guys, it's Lord Ryujin, and this is Lord Ryujin Presents. So in this edition of Lord Ryujin Presents, I'm going to give you my 3DS Super Smash Brothers character picks. 2 weeks ago I gave you the Wii U versions of the same thing, and I talked about the Smash moves the week before. So this week we're going to get into the characters that I would like to see for when and if they make a Nintendo 3DS version of Super Smash Bros. Now again guys, keep in mind that this character list is designed for recent releases, so I'm trying to really find characters from 3DS and DS releases of games with a few old school like Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games, and even probably some characters from the Wii and stuff like that. But I'm really trying to keep it recent. I don't see the point in continuing to use characters like Rob and Mr. Game & Watch, who haven't really had any relevance in probably close to 20 years. So let's get on with this week's list. I'm sure by now that the people who have been watching me for a long time, or even who have seen my previous videos, have a pretty good idea of the characters that I'm planning to include within this video. So from Icarus Uprising, which, no surprise that I'm even going to put that on the list because it's a recent title. It's one of the best games on the 3DS. Pit and Medusa. Again, I could have used other characters like Lady Palantina and even Ares, but I think that Pit and Medusa, they have a much longer spanning rivalry. I mean, Pit and Medusa, from the original games and even from the Game Boy game. So, Pit, Medusa, original games, there. Now, I'm not a big Pokemon fan, but I figured, Pokemon needs some love. Why not? It's one of Nintendo's best-selling franchises. So from Pokemon Black and White, I figured they can bring in the Pokemon Trainer again. But this time, update the Pokemon Trainer to be somebody from Black and White. Again, make sure that you comment or correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably saying this name wrong. I don't play Pokemon, so I'm sorry. But Zekrom from, I think, Black or White, I don't really know. I think that Zekrom should show up. I mean, that Pokemon is like, I think, an ultimate level Pokemon, and it'd be on par with how they've been using like Lucario and Mewtwo, who are higher level Pokemons and stuff like that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when I did my Wii U coverage, you noticed that Luigi wasn't in there. So I think, for the sake of being even, you should see Luigi in the 3DS version because of Luigi's Mansion. I mean, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is about to come out for the 3DS. It just makes sense. It would tie in better with the 3DS than Luigi would on the Wii U. And Daisy, because, Daisy doesn't get very much love in the series, let's face it. I mean, Daisy showed up in Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, which is the reason why I'm putting her in the portable title in the first place. But really, she only kind of shows up as a doubles character for Peach in like the tennis games, the soccer games, baseball games, stuff like that. She hasn't really been featured in her own game the way Luigi has with Luigi's Mansion, or even Peach has with Super Princess Peach. So Daisy should get some attention. You knew it was coming, because I'm a Zelda fan. From Spirit Tracks, I want to see Zelda and Link. Now, this is a little different from the last video that I did of the characters where I mentioned Link and Zelda, because I want two different versions. I wanted the Skyward Sword version of Link and the Skyward Sword version of Zelda, and in this case I want the Spirit Tracks version of Zelda and the Spirit Tracks version of Link. So essentially Toon Link and Toon Zelda. And more importantly, I want the Zelda that can turn into, who's like kind of like a ghost, for reasons that I'll explain in the Smash Moves video next week. But and I would also like to see Ganondorf, and the reason why that might throw you off a little, is because Ganondorf hasn't really been relevant in a while. You know, the most relevant characters recently have been Girahim and Demise because of Skyward Sword. Even though Ganondorf did show up in Twilight Princess, and that would make him qualify for, you know, him being in the Wii U version, I really just think that because Ocarina of Time 3D came out for the 3DS, and so therefore that's his most recent appearance. That's also his most famous appearance. You know, everybody keeps saying Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game of all time, whatever. But yeah, it just makes sense to me that he would be in the Ocarina of Time 3D version, and so therefore in the 3DS version. So here's the part of the list where we start kind of going off the tracks of the usual characters that you would probably think about. So keep that in mind for the next couple of characters that I'm going to mention. So I wanted to again try to use something kind of recent, and a franchise that has only been exclusive so far to portables is Shantae, and the most recent game that's been released was Shantae's Risky's Revenge. So I thought, why not include Shantae and Risky? I mean, it's a little weird, but the idea of Shantae using her belly dancing abilities and turning to different things seems like that could make for some interesting smash moves, and also for some interesting just regular moves, really. And you know, Risky has all kinds of different arsenals at her disposal, so just seems like an interesting idea, and could also again make that franchise more well known in the same way that, because Pit showed up in Brawl, we now have a Kid Icarus game, you know, on the 3DS. So maybe Shantae and Risky showing up in the 3DS version, people might go, hey, I like these characters, where are they from? They'll get more recognition, and then maybe before you know it, we'll get another Shantae game. Geomon and Ebisumaru from Mystical Ninja. Again, another series that's kind of out there. We haven't seen a Mystical Ninja game, I think really since the Nintendo 64. But it's recently started to come back on the Nintendo Virtual Console service with the Game Boy that they had, the Game Boy game, whatever it was called. So I just think that that'd be great, and you know, I was a big fan of Mystical Ninja back in the day. I really loved it on the Nintendo 64. I thought it was very quirky, very wacky, and just really fun to play, and I think that those characters would bring a lot to the table in a Smash Brothers game. Forgive me for not knowing my Fire Emblem characters, but I figure Fire Emblem is also a series that has, you know, quite a following. Everybody always seems to be looking forward to another Fire Emblem game coming out. So I figured, why not use the classic character from Fire Emblem and use Marth? But also I wanted to, you know, include somebody from one of the newer games. So Fire Emblem Awakening has Krom. So I figured, why not? Krom and Marth from Fire Emblem. Because I'm sure that there are a lot of characters who can do well from Fire Emblem, and those just seem to make sense. I would like to see Johnny from Johnny Kung Fu. End of case. So in my character video for the Wii U, I included some Sonic characters, and more importantly, I included, I think, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Sonic the Hedgehog, because, well, it just makes sense. You know, Shadow and Sonic, they play alike, they're arch rivals to one another. So yeah, but then I thought Sonic Rush was a pretty good game. I really enjoyed playing that on my DS back in the day. So Blaze the Cat and Eggman should be in it. Because, I mean, why not Eggman? I mean, it should be Eggman. It makes sense that it's Eggman. I mean, we have Bowser for Mario. He's showing up. King Dedede showed up for Kirby in Brawl. We have people who are, you know, main bad guys showing up. So Eggman should show up in a Smash Brothers game for, you know, for the Sonic series. Eggman just makes sense. And Blaze the Cat, I've always kind of seen as the female equivalent of Sonic. I mean, she's really fast, so fast in fact that she's, you know, blazing. And she also turns into a super form similar to what Sonic does. So it just seems to make sense. It seems like it would work hand in hand for each other. Blaze the Cat and Eggman both show up in Sonic Rush, which were recent titles that came out just on the DS, actually. So it just they fit. Call me weird, but I want to see Pacman. Now, I know that this is weird, because you're just like, what, Pacman? But the reason why I say that is because Namco Bandai is working on the new Smash Brothers games, with Masahiro Sakurai at the helm of deciding what characters go in and out. And we've already seen pictures from Tekken Tag Tournament 2 where they've included some, Nintendo-related costumes. So why not have some characters from Namco Bandai show up in a Smash Brothers game? But rather than just see Tekken characters, because I don't think that that's fair. You have fighters showing up in a fighting game. That's shocking. Use somebody else from the Namco Bandai series who really has been just kind of, going all over the place lately, and bring in Pacman, and maybe even the Pacman from Pacman 2 on the Super Nintendo. Because then he'd be bipedal, he could walk around, he could be semi-sentient, and you can even use that little slingshot thing that you used in that game to sort of, have a little bit of fun with the touch screen. We'll get into all that later with the Smash moves. But Pacman really does seem like he'd fit, He could be a really goofy, wacky character who could also bring a lot of fun, and he could be semi-fast to match something like what Sonic could do. Now this is going a little off in the variance also, but simply because Sega introduced Sonic with the last game, I think Sega needs to bring in more of their franchises. Now I'm not saying they need to go overboard and bring in Echo the Dolphin or anything, but they do need to bring in characters who have shown up recently on either a portable console or have shown up on a home console or something. So I think that from Knight's Journey of Dreams we should see Rayala and Knights. They just make sense. They're both acrobatic characters, so the possibilities of moves is endless. And you also have the the rivalry going on again. Characters who are similar to one another, to where you can still play with Rayala if somebody chooses Knights, and you're like, oh. But also just the idea of seeing Knights, because when I played Knight's Journey of Dreams, I thought this would look great in 3D. So just the idea of having Knights in 3D, I think would be great. Have some Knight-specific levels maybe. And Knights and Rayala just seems like, again, they would fit. They recently showed up on Nintendo-related consoles. They belong to Sega. Sega opened the door for their franchises to come into the series with Sonic. And it introduces new characters for the possibility of future games to come out without really alienating the audience and bringing in some character from 20 years ago on a game that came out only on the Famicom in Japan or something like that. Now this is really more of a fan service, I think. I'm not too big of a Castlevania fan anymore. It kind of lost me right around the PlayStation era. But I did get back into it with Dawn of Sorrow. I really thought that was a really good game. But then I just decided I was basically done with the Castlevania series. They just started making way too many games. They were all kind of the same to one another, and I just lost interest in it. But from Dawn of Sorrow, I would like to see Alucard and Soma Cruz, two characters who are both powerful characters, both have powers of Dracula, both could do really interesting things, I think, with the touchscreen portion of the 3DS. And it'll really be a good fan service too, because again, that's a series that, it's not really a Nintendo-based franchise, but it could be the introduction of more third-party characters. And since we're about to have, or maybe it's already come out, I'm not too sure, the new Castlevania game that's about to hit the 3DS, it just seems to make sense. You have a Castlevania on the 3DS and have Castlevania characters show up on a game on the 3DS. And finally, this one is really more or less for me, because I don't really think a lot of people really like this game too much. But I enjoyed Prince of Persia: The Fallen King. And I think we should see the Prince and the Magus. And the reason why, you don't even have to bring in the Magus. That's cool. But still bring us the Prince. I mean, are you kidding me? The Prince of effing Persia. acrobatic, just, all kinds of slick moves. Why wouldn't you want to play that? Even if you just ignore the touch screen controls and you have it to where it's still again controlled maybe with the D-pad and some buttons, it's still the idea of controlling a very acrobatic character who moves very fluently in all kinds of environments. Just imagine like doing a flip when you get knocked off an edge, doing like a flip and grabbing onto the edge and then like doing a handstand up on top of it to kick a character in the face or something. There's all kinds of potential for the Prince. And the Magus, well, the Magus is just kind of an interesting character, especially because he had a dark form in the game and really did a lot of cool magic-based stuff. So that could be a little bit more of a, projectile character. But even if you want to include somebody else, that's fine. Other characters that I thought about including are maybe some Animal Crossing characters, but they don't really fight. See, that's kind of the thing. But I guess you could have KK Slider or somebody show up. Also, there was a Fractured Soul that just came out, the guy from that. You could even bring in the guy from the Conduit, since they were supposedly showing the Conduit running on a Nintendo 3DS when it first came out. You could keep Snake. Snake did show up on GameCube with Twin Snakes, and it's also showed up again with Snake Eater 3D. But I just think that Snake is kind of a boring character. He was a boring character in Brawl. I didn't really like him. I didn't really like his moves. They were kind of lame. But if you wanted to keep him in, that's fine. But that's really all I can think of. There are a lot of characters that could have been picked from both sides, really. But this was the list that I came up with, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my list. Make sure that you comment with characters that you would like to see. Again, either on the Wii U version or on the 3DS version. It doesn't matter. I like to hear your opinion and, just reasons why you'd like to see the character. And again, next week we're going to cover Smash moves for the characters that I discussed this week, so make sure you tune into that.